Right.
This call is now being recorded.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A very warm welcome to all of you. आपने अपना टाइम निकाला और you've shown interest in this online session on a very innovative learning and development framework, which has been developed over a period of 5 to 6 years, while interacting with different learning systems, a world-class learning system or world standards available for organizations to implement. This system is basically an integration of two ISO regimes and a systems approach to training. It is not simply an integration, but it is a sort of a seamless integration where the things move forward from one concept to the other. Why I've done it? Because when I was interacting with ISO regimes and system approach to training, what I felt was that none of the systems is holistic in its sense. Some regimes talked about a management system and stopped at the operational level. Some regime started from operational level and went to the tactical level, and one of the regime remained in a tactical level. So what happened? The inherent field of the regime was very explanatory and in full details, but it was quiet or silent on the other two levels. So this was true for all the three systems. So what I felt was if organizations go for any one of these systems, so उसमें एक gap रहेगा. There would always be a gap, and because of this, your employee development would always suffer. So I thought, why not to integrate the three systems and find out a holistic system, which, when adopted into by the organizations, would become a holistic learning and development, or you can say capability governance framework. So I came up with this STEMS. The short form is STEMS, and the full form is Strategic Training Management and Evaluation System. So today's session is on STEMS. Let me just share a slide with you, then inshallah we will start a session. Okay, please do let me know if you cannot see the screen. You can let me know anytime. Right. As I said, this is as I sent you an invitation, it was from FLAME, which is the Forum for Leadership and Managerial Excellence. This is a platform on which we discuss leadership, management, organizational development, education policy, educational schools development, and anything concerning or related to human development we discuss here. We've got a series of online sessions which are recorded and put on the Flames page. And this is open to everybody. It's on the LinkedIn, on the Facebook, and a group on WhatsApp also. This session is from the platform of Flame, and you all are most welcome to whoever has not joined this platform. You're most welcome to join this platform. So, as I said, this session is on strategic training, management, and evaluation systems, and the short form is STEMS. Was developed by me as a result of 5 years of interaction with ISO and SAT. SAT is Systems Approach to Training. With these regimes, and I came up with why there was a problem. The problem was when when you look around maybe into your own organization or across organizations, you'll find a couple of problems with the employee development. First of all, you find the misalignment with the organizational goals. Training is not linked to the strategy. It comes as isolated events. One odd workshop today, one odd course tomorrow, and one all guest speaker or external facilitator come in the organization and delivering a training. But these trainings are not aligned with organizational goals. As a result, we waste resources. As I said, unintegrated, isolated activities, it is treated as a single event. The piecemeal training approach. And lack of wider ownership. Somehow, your feeling hai that training belongs to HR only, and training is seen as a sub function of HR, which is not like that. Unless training is given the wider organization ownership, it won't ever happen in an effective way. Okay? And because of the low ownership, other organizations do not own training. So it's an HR job, HR's KPI, it's up to them. So whether we attend or not attend, it's their headache. And quite often it is outsourced. I mean, I've seen in organizations who can work quite comfortably. They call external R&D providers to and ask them कि हमें ये flan course चाहिए, flan training चाहिए, हम अपने बंदों को यहाँ भिजवा आपके पास भिजवा देंगे, which is like that training is good, but that is generic and off the shelf, and it is detached from the organization's own context. So when your people come back, they are unable to start performing from day one into your own organization's conditions and at your standards. And then quite often your trainings, what happens in organizations are lecture based है, कोई workshops हो रही है, कोई guest speaker आ गया, कोई online course करवा दिया. But the question is, to what extent are these trainings directly connected to your job content and your job context? Is it like job focused? So it's not job. If it is not job focused, तो आपकी जो ना, then you end up with the low application in the work environment. And this could be true in some organization because training is not linked to your career progression. Because when a person is due for promotion or when you are preparing a person for the next stage, there are a couple of competencies which he or she must obtain. And unless your training is linked to those competencies, the trainings would never contribute to the career progression. And because of which the employees often remain disengaged because they think iska mujhe fark hi nahi padta attend karu ya na karu, so I'm not interested. And because of this, the motivation goes down and training becomes quite often a tick box activity only. And finally, there's a lot of talk of ROTI, return on training investment, but actually what we do is quite often we measure the participants' satisfaction survey only, attendance score and participant satisfaction, and the measurement quite often stops at this level, and measurement does not go into the work environment. So यहाँ भी problem आता है, and then it becomes hard to justify L&D investment. So these are a couple of problems, main problems. There are many others. When you look around your organization, you will see other problems as well. But these are the 8 common problems, and which led me to develop this stems. Now look at your own organizations, and look at any organization. You will see many systems operating in an organization. For example, the management system, the financial system, the human resource system, operations or productions, marketing and sales, supply chain, information technology, quality management, risk management, legal and compliance, R&D, customer service, health and safety. But you will never see employee capability development as an autonomous function. It is unfortunately seen as sub-function of HR, and it is done through isolated activities rather than an integrated capability governance system. I mean, this is true. You just look into your own organization or look across organizations, you will see, and look into the universities also. वहाँ पर भी you will see this training as a part of a sub-function maybe of the faculties or HR. Look into any organization, you will see this reality. Somehow, the employee development is taken as sub-function of the HR. So there are risks attached to this lack of the system. At a strategic level, the capability developed are linked to strategic priority, are not linked to priorities, resources invested in wrong capabilities, and reduced ability to achieve long-term goals and loss of competitive advantage. At operational level, duplication of efforts. एक डिपार्टमेंट कुछ कर रहा है, वही काम दूसरे डिपार्टमेंट भी कर रहा है, और चीजों की डुप्लीकेशन हो रही है. And the training and development is inconsistent, unstandardized, inconsistent, and they operate in silos and lack of coordination, which leads to inefficient use of time, talent, and budget. And at a tactical level, no clear metrics and no KPIs. So how do you measure training effectiveness? Inability to evaluate learning and performance, and decisions based on assumptions and not evidence. I mean, you would have seen the manager कह रहे हैं okay, ये training workshop आ गई है मेरी, तो ये 2 बंदे आप और आप चले जाओ attend करो. भी HR ने कहा है ये training हो रही है, आप 2 बंदे attend करो जाके. So it's based upon, I mean, guesswork और assumption पे काम करता है. यार देखो तुम्हारी decision making is very poor, you go and attend this. What is the evidence कि बंदे की decision making poor है? What is the evidence कि decision making का कौन सा level? Actually, what does decision making mean for a level of employee? एक आपके जूनियर ऑफिसर है, एक आपका मिड कैरियर बंदा है, एक आपका सीनियर मैनेजर है. डिसीजन मेकिंग की ग्रेविटी इज डिफरेंट एट 3 डिफरेंट लेवल्स. उसका डोमेन, उसकी जो ब्रेड्थ एंड डेप्थ is different at 3 different levels. So how do you assume that one workshop or one lecture on decision making is good enough for all the 3 levels, right? And because of this, because they're working in silos, accountability and nahi and there's no continuous improvement. See, the gravity of the risks is very, very high, right? But the risk somehow hidden है because and these risks are there because there's no autonomous, I would say, an independent capability development system. Or अगर वो system हो, तो an organization can very easily mitigate these risks. Or you will see now in your organizations, or just look around, training होती कैसे है? You will agree with me. होता क्या है कि yes, every organization has got a strategy, but how does the training start? There are certain training requests, surveys, manager input, or compliance training. We start from there, right? And from these collection of the requests, surveys, and managers input, and compliance records, the training planning is done. Annual plan is made, budget is allocated, and it is prioritized. And there we got an organization L&D plan, right? And then when it comes to design, it is highly content focused, knowledge transfer, limited to and limited alignment. And delivery कैसे होती है? Classes, classrooms, workshops, e-learning, or vendor dependent. I mean, quite often you call external guest speakers or trainers to come, please come and deliver this learning to us, or you send your people to different learning service providers. कि ये आप training करवा दीजिए. And when it comes to effectiveness, हमारे क्या था कि mostly effectiveness हम measure करते हैं कि how satisfied were the participants at the end of the training? Were they happy with the content? Were they happy with the trainer? And learning the assessment is quite often very limited. I mean, rarely an organization would assess how much of learning has happened soon after the learning session. Uske baad behavior assessment is really there and results are really there. And this I do not say from myself. Industry के surveys हैं कि training assessment कहाँ होती है, कहाँ पर नहीं होती है. And as a result, what is the impact on organization? Low visibility, weak link to the performance, and is the link between your strategy and your impact is broken, right? As a result, no link to the strategy, reactive and request driven, gaps not validated, evaluation stops too early, poor transfer to workplace, and unclear impact on business results. And this is all because your capability or your employee development is not taken as an independent system. Because just imagine HR के पास और कितने काम होते हैं, so why would they focus their entire time on the learning and development? Recruitment उनकी है, selection होती है, interviewing होती है, onboarding होती है, employees का जो कैरियर प्रोफाइल होता है, उसके कैरियर प्रोग्रेशन का सारा वो देख रहे होते हैं. They look after the compensation also. They look after the legal aspects also. Do they have time for training and development? Quite often एक आपका assistant manager or deputy manager training है जो look after करता है, but then how much support is given to him or her at the organization? How much support even is given to him or her by their own manager? HR manager के पास time नहीं होता. That is why your organization suffers, and it happens in this truncated manner, right? So, having set the stage now, what are the problems are around? And these all things I have taken from different sources because this is happening. And you would be surprised to see कि L&D का budget दुनिया में कितना है. और एक ही question उठता है कि is it effective? Are we investing in the right direction? और ये बहुत बड़ा concern है organizations के लिए कि हम जो invest कर रहे हैं. Quite often it is said that कि एक बंदा जो course करके आता है, only the 10% of training is applied back into the job environment. Maybe 90% is wasted. Why that 90% is wasted? Imagine कि अगर आपका $1 billion annual आपका budget है, तो only 10% is being transferred to your job, and you are wasting remaining 90% of the investment. This is because of there are severe gaps in your L&D approach. So how STEMS help here? What is STEMS and how STEMS help here? Right. What STEMS does it provides the missing governance framework. I mean, this framework is not available in universities, in organizations. So STEMS provide that missing governance framework. I mean, you extra cheese nahi leke aa raha hai. It's not imposing something upon you. Like for example, when the organization goes for ISO certification, something extra is imposed upon to you. Aapka management system has to be tailored to the ISO. Aapki documentation has to be tailored. But STEMS does not force you to change your management system or your documentation. It just simply gets integrated into your existing systems. And it's a governance-led framework that transforms L&D into a strategic capability system. It's a complete institutional competency management system integrating global standards. So when I talk about the global standards, as I said in the beginning, it comes from integration of ISO 29993, which is the learning and development outside the formal education, ISO 10015, which is the guidelines to training for organizations, and systems approach to training. So the three regimes have been integrated to form STEMS. Okay, how STEMS achieve this? We start from, look at this, be with me now. This step one, the transformation of objectives into competency framework. We start from the objective. It means from objectives to strategy, we derive the competencies and we derive the competency framework for every job. And then based upon that competency framework, we conduct the competency gap analysis, find out the weaknesses, and then provide training analysis, conduct training analysis based on the competency requirements, and training design and delivery targeting the competency gaps. So see, each step is logically flowing after its predecessor, addressing the issues which were raised in the previous step. So once the training is designed and it is delivered, then it is delivered and we go to the validation to ascertain the competency gap reduction. We ensure that the training which was designed to address the competency gap has done its job. And then the system doesn't stop here. we suggest conducting an audit of the whole system to find out the gaps, the non-conformances, and the review and improvement opportunities. And then this report is fed back to the management for improving the capability. So this is a closed-loop system. So you will see that here, I mean, this is ISO se pala pada hai. You will see the ISO standards incorporated here in different capacities. This is how the stems work. Now the next slide will tell you how the STEM, I mean, what are the stages in STEM's framework. जैसे मैंने कहा कि we start from the higher level. What is the mission of the organization? Has this mission been transformed into the objectives? And the objectives then lead to the strategy of the organization. This would tell us what are the strategic priorities of an organization which come from the objective. We have to ensure that your competencies flow down from your strategy and are not taken as isolated or unconnected incidents, but it comes down from strategy. Then from this, what we do is we do a job analysis. Now this is a pure HR term, but the outcomes are different in STEMs. The first outcome is job description, which is you know very well, but we do not stop here. From this, we prepare a job performance statement, which I'll show the template later on, which converts your job descriptions into your performance condition, performance statement, the conditions under which the performance is to be done, and standards at which the performance is to be judged. And this I'll use the short form now, JPS. Now this JPS, from here we come down to the capability analysis, and what we do is we do the competency mapping. Now look, normally नवा तरीके में लोग start यहाँ से start करते हैं for competency mapping, but we don't start from there. We got a step here, some function there, and we come down from the top level. In capability analysis, what we do is we do the competency mapping of all the jobs. After competencies क्या required है, and based upon this, then we do a competency gap analysis. कि shortages कहाँ पर? Let's say, for example, an employee A or employee B, there are two persons performing same job in HR department or any department, assistant managers, right? Now the gaps of one employee will be different from gaps of the other one. So one size fit all training will not address the gaps. It has to be customized and tailored. For example, there's a training on, for example, communication skills, right? The nature of the communication skill would be different from department to department, right? So I mean, you have to find out the exact competency gaps based upon your job performance statement, right? And from this competency gap analysis, then what we do is we do not stop here. We further go into the competencies, do the analysis, do a sort of surgery to find out what learning is to be required. We do not stop it. Normally, hota kya hai ki organizations, they stop here and then hand it over to the external vendors to conduct training. But the STEMS doesn't stop. It's a no, just hold on. No, let us first of all see, okay, what does the competency mean for the organization? And then we conduct a learning analysis in which we make a learning performance statement of what learning is required, right? What is the learning standard and what conditions the learning is to happen. And from there, we go for learning design, right? What is to be delivered, how it is to be delivered, using what method and what media it must be delivered. And a decision could be a formal training, decision could be a mentoring session, decision could be on-the-job training, decision could be self-studies, decision could be online training. So here from the learning design, you come to know what sort of intervention you are supposed to adopt to fill this gap and teaching what knowledge and skills to this person. Targeted knowledge and skills using targeted method and media. No one size fit all, no generic official training, targeting the competency, the competency gaps. From here then, when the design is ready, we go over learning execution. You make the learning planning for the whole organization, first of all for individual employees, and then for the whole organization, and then learning delivery is done using the methods and the media proposed in this design. We adopt those methods and media and deliver the learning. When this thing happens, we then go for the validation, all right? Soon after learning, the first stage is learning validation to ensure that learning has actually happened or not. We do not stop at delivery to ensure that the learning the learning session has achieved its targets. And then again, we do not stop here. After 5 or 6 months of the employee having gone to the workstation, we conduct a performance validation to ensure that the training has really affected the employee's performance. Has the employee improved in the areas in which they were identified gaps? Is he or she is performing to the required level? So here is the stage when we come to know that the training has been effective. And then the whole system goes for an audit. I mean, this whole mission, objectives, strategy, and this regime goes for an audit to see whether everything is aligned or not, Were there any non-conformances, any corrective actions required? And then we go for a review that what are the recommendations, what are suggestions for improving the whole system, and then it is fed back at the highest level to improve the system. So this third part is a sort of continuous improvement. This is the STEMS framework, and you will see that we haven't left any stone undone. Learning and development, all philosophies, all strategies, all approaches are integrated into one holistic system, which is the STEMS framework. Now, what I'll do is I'll take up these steps one by one and quickly go through the I would call the approach or a methodology or a template, just to give you an idea, because time short है हमारे पास, we cannot discuss everything in details. We can address it detail later on. अगर आपको कोई detail पता करनी, तो what we can do is either on one basis I can give you the details explanation, or we can hold further sessions on this. So first of all, now we'll go for these steps one by one now. Job analysis, there are two aspects. As I said, the job descriptions. This is the first step, and from there we lead to job performance statement. And job descriptions are fairly known to everybody, that every job has got a description, or ये बड़ा common है. Normally in an organization you find very well written job descriptions. Now the purpose of a job, responsibilities, task and activities, reporting relationship, authority, and all these things. Now the question is, whether these job descriptions have come down from strategy and objectives, या ये assumption करके बना ली गई हैं, job को लेके बना गई हैं. बहुत दफा ऐसा होता है कि जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन से एक जॉब को लेकर बनाई जाती है कि इस बंदे ने करना क्या है. होना क्या चाहिए कि हमें इसको ऊपर से नीचे लाना चाहिए. हमारी स्ट्रेटेजी क्या कहती है, हमारा मिशन क्या कहता है, वहां से भी फाइंड आउट कि ये जॉब कैसे कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है टुवर्ड्स स्ट्रेटेजिक एस्पिरेशंस ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. So what we do is, a job tells us what the employee is supposed to do, what the job requires for performance. Now this JPS tells us what are the knowledge and what are the components or a task of that job, under what conditions that job is to be performed, and to what standards this job is to be performed. Now this comes from this thing is not available in the wider world, and this comes from this template comes from systems approach to training. The first problem is a short and precise statement of the required task, actual job conditions under which task is performed, what systems are available, tools, processes, environment, and criteria that guarantee the successful performance of a task, quality, quantity, time, and cost and safety standards. Right? As an example, for example, is a marketing executive. The task is conduct market research, evaluate customer demand, and competitive positioning for a new product. Your task is enough. Your job description will lay down only this thing. Now, this step will tell you under what conditions you are to achieve the performance. Given a project brief, access to industry reports, access to survey software, and target audience. And what are the standards to know the performance of my standard meeting 95% confidence level for such sample, identify at least 3 key market opportunities, preparing report as per company format within 10 days. ये है actual आपका performance का standard, performance का statement, जहां से आपके knowledge and skills निकलेंगे, जहां से आपकी जो competency को judge किया जाएगा कि आपके इसकी basis पे competency determine होगी. What are the underlying competencies to achieve this task, right? So this data would automatically lead to the next step, which is the capability. Now I'll give you an example here. For example, there are two pizza companies in Pakistan. Okay, Pizza Hut and Pizza XYZ. And there's a course on pizza making outside, a vendor providing a course. There are two guys who go attend that course, making a pizza, and they both attend the same course, right? One goes to the Pizza Hut, second goes to the local chain. Now, do you think that दोनों की training उस company के performance criteria, condition और standard को satisfy कर सकेगी? Look at the conditions and standard of a Pizza Hut, and look at the condition and standard of a local pizza company. Also, performance की requirement same होगी, but conditions and standard would be different. That is why one course on making pizza would never satisfy two different organizations. That is why अगर आप अपने course को outsource करते हो किसी vendor को, और उस course में 5-6 different companies के बंदे बैठे हुए हैं, तो when the employees would come back, be assured कि उस training की application में there would be gaps. Because वो training आपके conditions और standards पे नहीं हुई है. That is why you will be wasting your investment into that course. Right? Now from this JPS, we go to the next step, which is the capability analysis. Now based upon this JPS, we have determined what are the competencies required for performing this job. Look at this, the performance, condition, and standard. Now there are certain competencies required to perform this job. And now we will go for the competency analysis, competency mapping, And then from here, against this mapping, we'll do the competency gap analysis. Now, this is one more sample for you. This is normally an off the shelf. I mean, आप किसी भी कंपनी में चले जाइए, आपको सारे टेम्पलेट्स मिल जाएंगे आपको. Different होंगी. How to log employees competencies, employees name, title, department, and whatever, name and title, and all these things, assessment date. Now, here are the competencies, the core competencies which are logged here. But this is up to the organization, or to the departments, or your expertise inside the organization, or your subject matter experts who would tell you. Maybe you can take help of external expert also to help you determine the competencies required for performing a job. For example, a pizza banana hai, what are the competencies required to perform the role of a pizza maker? What are the general competencies, and what are the technical competencies, and what is the required level? For example, the basic level, intermediate level, advanced, expert level. You have to mention the level here. And then you do the gap analysis through your employees' performance surveys, your interviews, observations, employee self-assessment, right? And then you find out what is the current. For example, a person, there's a competency A, for example, and current level was 3, but the current level is 2. So there's a gap, right? So you have to mention the gap here, and then make a development plan. Okay, how would you fill this gap? This is where the competency mapping is done and gap analysis is done. Now, based upon this gap, the current level and the gap would guide us to design the training for this person. We would not provide training in generic sense to all employees of a department, but targeted training to fill the determined gap. And from this then, okay, before I move forward, quite often you'll find these things happening in a company. I've been interacting with different companies. I've seen there is a competency mapping, there's a gap analysis done, but then what happens afterwards is this competency is outsourced to your vendors to provide training, right? And this is the next slide. Most competency systems stop at competency mapping. Identified competencies are typically handed over to external vendors to design and deliver training, often with limited analysis of how each competency should be developed or measured. Because यहाँ पर जब तक आपको ये नहीं पता what are the knowledge, but unless you do the further analysis, what are the knowledge and skills required to perform this competency, and don't forget this thing. This competency under the organization's own conditions and own standards. So if you handed this over to the internal vendor, he would be able to break it down, but he would be detached from the condition and standard of the company, right? He would provide a training, but when the employee comes back to you, conditions different or standard different. Unless that guy is sitting in the organization, is a part of the organization, or you integrate him or her into your organization, and he knows what are the conditions of standards. Okay, so training आपका बहुत ऐसा आपका training का waste हो जाएगा आपका, right? Okay, उसके बाद handover vendors design and delivered. As a result, training may not be precisely aligned with on-the-job performance requirements, and a true impact of training on performance remains unclear. यहाँ पर एक problem आता है, and that's where the STEMs step in or help the organizations by doing the learning analysis of finding out what are the knowledge and skills required. So in learning analysis, first step is to find out the learning performance. Learning में होना क्या, आपने करवाना क्या, learning में क्या करवाना है, किस कंडीशन में ट्रेनिंग होगी, किन कंडीशन के बारे में ट्रेन करना है. फॉर एग्जांपल एक कंपनी है, फॉर एग्जांपल डिलीवरी कंपनी, फॉर एग्जांपल एक डिलीवरी मेन शहर में, एक डिलीवरी गांव की तरफ डिलीवरी की होती है, तो दोनों का कंडीशंस डिफरेंट है ना, दोनों का स्टैंडर्ड्स डिफरेंट है, दोनों का ड्राइवर्स को डिफरेंट तरीके से ट्रेन होना है. ठीक है, एक कंपनी कराची बैठी हुई है, उसका जो मार्केटिंग वालों की अप्रोच डिफरेंट होगी. एक कंपनी आपकी जो ना फॉर एग्जांपल किसी रूरल एरिया में बैठी हुई है, उसके मार्केटिंग उसके टेक्निक्स डिफरेंट होंगे, उसके कंडीशंस डिफरेंट है, उसके स्टैंडर्ड्स डिफरेंट है, राइट? सो फर्स्ट ऑफ वी हैव टू डिटरमिन कि हमने एम्प्लॉइज को किस कंडीशन में और किस स्टैंडर्ड में उसको ट्रेन करना है. ठीक है, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट. अनलेस यू डू दिस, आप अपने ट्रेनिंग के रिसोर्सेज को वेस्ट करेंगे आप लोग. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इज लर्निंग परफॉर्मेंस स्टेटमेंट व्हिच वुड लीड टू योर लर्निंग डिजाइन. Your risk statement is very similar to your job performance statement. The performance criteria, conditions, and standards. In fact, this comes from your job performance statement. The same performance, but now it comes from the competency mapping, not from the job description, but from competency map. We'll find out the competencies. The performance is written as the competency is written as a performance. Then under which conditions the task will be performed. And this comes from your job performance conditions, job performance standards condition. Now see, all these things are interlinked now. Your performance comes from the competency mapping, and conditions and standards come from your job performance statement. So things are now being integrated. So it's being ensured that your people are trained to the right performance, to enter under the right conditions, at the right standards. And then we mention here what are the gaps that would remain even after training, because in training you have to simulate different moments. You have to assume a time come hota hai, you have to shorten the things. For example, अगर आप marketing का बंदा ने survey करना है, market में जाके एक हफ्ते का survey करना है, training में you give her only 1 hour do the survey. उसको हफ्ता नहीं मिलेगा ना, वो रोड पे जाके सर्वे करेगा. तो ट्रेनिंग में गैप्स रह जाते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल एक फ्लाइट, एक एयरप्लेन का पायलट है फॉर एग्जांपल, ठीक है ना, उसकी ट्रेनिंग अगर आपने करना है फॉर क्रैश लैंडिंग, यू डोंट हैव टू क्रैश योर एयरक्राफ्ट एक्चुअली, यू टेक हिम और हर टू द सिमुलेटर. सिमुलेटर पे करने के बाद भी देयर इज ऑलवेज अ गैप. दिस गाय हैज नेवर, I'm sorry to say, hasn't done the crash landing in actual circumstances, right? So we must mention it here. For example, एक आपको फायर फाइटर है, right? आप उसको ट्रेनिंग कोर्स पे ले जाते हो, मॉकअप में ले जाते हो उसको, आप उसको आग लगा के ट्रेनिंग, उसको आग बुझाना सिखाते हो, बट यू डू नॉट पुट अ बिल्डिंग ऑन फायर टू ट्रेन इन हाउ टू एक्सटिंग्विश द फायर. सो ट्रेनिंग के बाद कुछ गैप्स हमेशा रह जाते हैं, एंड दोस गैप्स मस्ट बी मेंशन्ड हियर, व्हिच वुड टेल द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हाउ टू कंटिन्यू टू फॉलो अप दोस गैप्स, और कैसे बने की ट्रेनिंग करें ताकि गैप्स उसके फुलफिल हो जाए. एंड देन राइट हियर द इंपैक्ट ऑफ दिस गैप्स एंड रिकमेंडेशंस टू overcome the gap. So this becomes a complete prescription, diagnosis and prescription for a framework of how to conduct training. From this now what we do is we will break down this performance into further. Now this is one example for them. Conduct market research for a simulated product scenario. Remember in the first part from a job it was written conduct the market research. Now for a training it would say in a simulated product scenario and condition simulated product brief, mock survey data in 4-hour group work environment. So it is now being reduced to the training environment, and standard 100% compliance with the survey design rules, accurate data, and final presentation with an allocated time limit. So these are the standards in training environment which must be achieved by a trainee. So if he or she can achieve those standards in a training environment, most likely, it's very likely, when he or she would go back to the organization, he will perform. But there will always be the gap. Now look at the gap. While trainees can analyze clean data sheets and present research findings with a structured, low-stakes classroom setting, the lack of operational experience in cleansing a noisy live market field data and defending research methodology under high-pressure C-suite scrutiny, that's a gap. So gap consequence deploying trainee directly risk flawed business intelligence, requires a on-the-job training and mentoring on live project before conducting solo. That's how the learning performance statement helps an organization to see how to train a person and to what conditions to train a person, what are the standards, what are the gaps which would still remain even after the training, and how to fulfill those gaps. We would see this approach rarely into most of the organizations yet, but those organizations who are compliant in systems approach to training, we would see these things happening over there. Now from this, we do not stop here. We still don't know what are the knowledge and skills required to achieve this performance. Then what we do is we break down this performance into enabling objectives, what are the knowledge and skills, high level knowledge and skills required, and then break this down further to the knowledge and skills components. Deliverables. I mean, we do not deliver the performance, we deliver this knowledge and skills in your training courses, workshops, under mentoring sessions, in online training, in on-the-job training. So these things, do not assume these things are only delivered in the classroom. No, these things are delivered not in the classroom. When we come to the design, this chapter will tell you the learning objective, the high level objective which would lead achievement of this objective, and what knowledge and skills are mandatory or to be learned to fulfill or to achieve this objective. So these knowledge and skills are mentioned here. Then the method and the media. Now this becomes your framework for delivering the lesson or delivering the knowledge and skill. It could be your, for example, a certificate course, could be an OJT on the job training, could be a mentoring session, could be, for example, online course, could be an instructor-led course. So this method is mentioned here, and the media is mentioned. I mean, what media is it? The company's online system? Is it, for example, operational manual, or is it, for example, the online available content? Whatever. So this is the complete framework of how the learning is to be delivered. Now imagine you have broken down your competencies to what level now. Now you know exactly what knowledge and skills are required to be delivered at the end of the value chain. Because if you deliver those knowledge and skills, these will ensure in turn that the preceding level is met, and this will ensure that the level preceding that level is met. Ultimately, you end up meeting your competency framework, filling the competency gap, reaching the competency level, and then fulfilling your job performance statement, then your job description, which ultimately meet the organization's strategic aspirations. So you see how seamlessly these things flow down from your mission, objectives, strategy down to your classroom learning level, and not only to, I mean, not in for some generic or one size fits all, but really it is targeted to each and every individual employee, right? For example, I mean, look at an example here. Again, conduct market research study for a similar product scenario. And what are the enablers? Interpret project briefs and design structured market research tools. And second, an enabler is perform statistical analysis on mock survey data. If an employee can do these two things, enablers, he or she will be able to achieve this objective. Now, what are the knowledge and skills required here? Knowledge of core survey design principles, sampling techniques, measurement scales, is one and saying these are the knowledge component. And the method is self-study and materials online. He or she can do it by himself. Development of survey instrument aligned with the requirements, workshop, and as required. I mean, this is the knowledge component required, and this is the skill component required. Imagine if an employee can do and can achieve these two things, this thing will be achieved in turn. This is achieved. So this is the same as here. For example, knowledge of statistical analysis techniques suitable for quantitative data, guided study, and execution of data analysis using analytical tools. There is a workshop. So ultimately, the system leads you to the knowledge and skill components and how are these to be delivered to achieve that level of competency, and then how to assess. I mean, this is something how to assess it. This is the first part of validation. Knowledge and skill begin these demonstrations, simulations, exercises, micro teaching sessions, role plays, problem solving exercises, or project-based assignment. You can, and this will tell you, the design will tell you how to assess this type of learning soon after the learning. So the validation starts from here. Now we go to, when this is design, as it is done, then we go to execution. The first component is the learning planning. When this is done, then we go to learning delivery. That's how you plan it. Again, for the employee, learning and plan competencies and skills, which comes from the competency analysis, the learning objective for each competency, the method and media, which come from learning design, the start date, the end date, and status, whether done or not done, and development resources and required. What are the methods, mentorship, workshops, external courses, whatever, and signed off. So this becomes a learning plan for individual employee. Based upon the individual learning plans of all the organization, then what you can do is you can put together and organizing a wide learning plan for 6 months or 1 year, and then you start to follow. And then follow your then prioritize all the learning issues. Go for those which have got a critical impact on the organization. Then those which have integrated effect, and which are the routine skills, for example, right? That's how you can prepare a learning plan for the whole organization, and this would really reflect your organization's competency gaps, which are required to be addressed either urgently or with sort of some focus or with less focus, and then you can make your budget plans. Then you can start to invest and start to execute the plan. Right. Validation, as I said in the beginning, this your strategy forms the first part of validation, which is the learning validation. It happens soon after learning. You conduct certain assessments to find out the learning has happened or not, and then the performance validation, right? Look at this. I'll click all of these. The learning validation is reaction and training. Soon after the training, gather the reaction of the participant. How do they feel? Do they feel confident now? Do you feel that the skill gap address ho gaya? And then assess the training also. Do not stop here, because most organizations they stop here, say that our reaction was very, very good, or feedback aage employees ki, the training has happened, tick, the budget is is consumed and training has happened, and keep a record of it, and which log they make KPIs. Survey satisfaction was 85% was to be achieved. Look, survey it says 90% satisfaction, so we achieved the target. And see, we have done all the 50 courses which were supposed to be done for this year, so we met the target. Now, do not stop here. Assess the learning, then we come back to validate the performance after 5 or 6 months. Follow up with a person, with the supervisors, with the performance data, employee self-assessment to find out uski performance kahan pahunchi hai, and is this performance impacting the business results or not. And once this thing is proved, then this means your training was effective, which means you really addressed the competency gap. Now, there was a gap before, because of this there were performance issues, right? Now you address the gaps, performance issues are gone, and the result is coming now into the business performance. That's how your loop is closed. Right. Now we come to the last part, which is the continuous improvement. The first part is the audit. As I said, this comes from the ISO regimes. and we audit the entire system, not only the training manager, not only the HR manager. We audit the management. We audit the analysis, design, conduct, quality, and we audit all the departments to get an audit report. आप इसे स्केयर मत होइए, बिकॉज में ऑडिट का नाम आता है फौरन डर जाते हैं कि ऑडिट है, ये आपका अपना ऑडिट है, ये ऑडिट आपने खुद करना है, आपने कोई बाहर से बंदा नहीं आएगा. लाइक आईएसओ regime में you are scared of the audits. ऑडिट आ गया, don't just get scared of it. This is your own audit to see आपने चीजें कैसे अपने अचीव की. Based upon this, you find out were there any non-performances and what are the corrective actions required, and then you make a review report and submit it to the management for continuous improvement. This is the last step of the stems. After this, now the next question is ये सारा कैसा होगा, ये गवर्नेंस सेटअप कैसे होगा, एक सिस्टम वो क्या इस काम को कैसे करेंगे. तो ये एक बेसिकली कैपेबिलिटी गवर्नेंस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन उसका बनाइए. एज आई सेड इन द बिगिनिंग, बिकॉज आप कैपेबिलिटी गवर्न करने की कोई सिस्टम नहीं है, तो आप this thing is left to HR as a subsystem, and HR cannot give focus to it. That is why your capability development suffers. For this, now STEMS suggest a governance framework from within the organization. बंदे पाए से नहीं आएंगे, सब आप लोगों ने सारा खुद करना है, ठीक है? And the setup is now, be with me now. This thing is confusing. Be with me. Look at this top one. You have to make a capability governance board, which is an internal team comprising all the departmental managers are the members of this team, and one rep of top management who will be head of this board. This is a decision-making body and a body which oversees the entire process of STEMS, right? But because of the all departmental managers, this ownership will come in. And why put all departmental managers? We want to ensure that every department feels that training is my job. HR का job सिर्फ नहीं है. The first step is the job for capability analysis. HR can lead, departments can participate, and you can hire an SME to help you determine the job descriptions and capability analysis. This thing is quite often done in organization. I mean, there is no question कि होता है, but you just have to see this is aligned to your job. Look at this job in the middle. Everything comes from the job, right? First step is a double arrow जो है. This board is to they have to focus the job. This analysis to be done, keeping job in the focus, and we move to the next step when ability assessment is done, and learning analysis, the departments and the SMEs. And after this, we go to the learning execution. Departments do it. HR keeps a record. HR coordinates, and then from there the learning validation. Departments will do it, and few departments can help them. And then the audit and review. You can form an internal committee of a numerical team who can audit the entire system and feed back results to the capability governance board. And that's how this whole system works. And you can see now कि कोई बंदा बाहर से नहीं आ रहा है, आपके लोग हैं जिन्होंने मिलकर सारा काम करना है, because you have to take ownership of this. Imagine आपको मैंने स्टार्टिंग में कहा था ना कि कैपेबिलिटी गवर्नेंस का इंडिपेंडेंट ना होने से what are the strategic risks, what are the operational risks, and what are the tactical risks. If you acknowledge that these risks are dangerous for your organization, right? You have to implement this system into organization. See how dedicatedly आपका management system होता है, आपका financial management system होता है, आपका HR management system होता है, your R&D system, आपका health and safety system होता है. How could you ignore your most important asset, which is your employees? And how could you ignore the capability and professional development of your employees? Right? You have to have this system, because why? Look, आपके in the world of the HR, we say that the most sustainable competitive advantage is your employees. Your competitors can copy your product features. They can copy your systems and processes. They can copy your marketing strategy. They can copy your sales strategy, right? But no one can copy your employees. That's your sustainable competitive advantage. So how can you afford to ignore the development of your most sustainable competitive advantage, employees? This is one thing. Second thing is, by nature, every human being seeks development. हर बंदा इंसान by nature development चाहता है. कि by staying in the organization, मेरी अपनी development क्या हो रही है? And development makes your people motivated. तब उनकी learning growth हो रही होती है. Your people, especially your new generations, your generation Z, and the generation after that. Believe me, my thesis of the PhD was on Generation Z's learning and work performances in the UAE, and the outcome was Generation Z preferred those organizations जहाँ उनकी development होती है. Stagnant इदारा नहीं चाहिए उनको. They want, when they step into the organization, they want to see आज से 5 साल के बाद मैं कहाँ खड़ा हूँगा, मैं कहाँ खड़ी होंगी, मेरी market value कहाँ पहुँची होगी. So you have to invest in your people now, right? And above all, you have to grow, you have to earn profit, and that is done through your employees. हम लोग in the defense force we say that it's not the gun which fights, it's the man behind the gun which fights. When the man behind the gun is trained well, is motivated well, is developed well, your gun starts to work. right? Or there's an important saying by, I think the American businessman, Andrew Carnegie. There was a saying by him that he said that take away my factories, take away my yard, take away my people, and leave my factories. Soon I'll have grass growing on the floors of my factories. I'll say it again. Take away my people, but leave my factories, and soon I will see grass growing on the floors of my factories. Then he said, take away my factories and leave my people, and soon we will have a better factory. Right? So this is the importance of the human beings in an organization. So you have to look after the capability, your development, so that you have a fully motivated, a fully prepared workforce to perform your operations, not even today, but for tomorrow. So you have to invest in your people, and your STEMs can help you. What is the STEMs for? It helps the corporate organizations, the universities, vocational education institutes, healthcare organization, and learning support. And anywhere you've got people working, where development is happening, STEMs will help you, right? Or implementing STEMs is, first of all, you have to commit that we have to adopt STEMs. See, adopt STEMs एक पूरी philosophy है, एक पूरा framework है. You cannot take it in bits and pieces. यार मैंने ये करना है, मैंने वो नहीं करना. आज करना है, कल नहीं. ये नहीं. You have to commit yourself कि मैंने ये करना है. You have to convince yourself, right? And then you have to learn what are the STEMs function, and then you have to set up STEMs function, and then implement and sustain. और ये सारे का सारा आपके अंदर integrate हो जाएगा आपका organization में. Nothing will come from outside. You have all resources available. Just tap the resources, tap the commitments, and get a system put together and get a system running, and you have STEMs implemented. And the benefits are, now remember that octopus in the beginning. Now all those bad things will convert to your good things now. Strategic alignment of capability development, integrated capability governance, performance-based learning design, objective validation of training effectiveness, improved on ROTI, and continual organizational capability improvement. So these are the benefits will come to you. And the STEMs toolkit, which help you in providing a template for STEM to make policy, job descriptions, JPS, competency mapping and gap analysis, LPS, how to make a learning design, planning, validation, performance validation, audit form, corrective action, and STEMs review report. So there are tools, there's a complete toolkit available to help you to implement this system. You don't have probably, I mean, it doesn't require any sort of, rocket science. It's simple things, simple R&D concepts made so easy for you, and the organization can adopt these and start to build these. And how can Flame support you? You can conduct awareness and objective briefing for your organization. We can conduct training and capacity building. We can go for end-to-end design and implementation, and we can help you with the audit, validation, and your continuous improvement. So we are here available to you to help you. Now look at this slide. Organization can govern finance, quality, risk, capability. Why not capability? Right. So this is a big gap. As I said, STEMs transform learning and development into organizational capability governance system, and to fill in the gap, plug in the gap to help you with developing or putting together this system. Thank you very much. Again, I have to admit कि मुझे थोड़ा speed से गुजरना पड़ा because of the time availability. Now it's already 6:54 now, so I will cut it short. And now what we can do is, if you got any questions, I'm here to answer your questions, please. Right. Now please go ahead now. It's open now. You can ask me any questions.
Assalamualaikum, sir. I have two questions. One regarding the capability governance framework. The slide you showed, उस पे STEM की सारी working है, but don't you think कि अगर हम सारे departments को मिला भी लें, for instance HR and every other department, जो subject specialist है या expert है, जो trainer होगा, वो बाहर से ही हायर होना होगा, नंबर वन. नंबर टू, वी ऑलवेज टॉक अबाउट इन प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट के जो ISO है या सिक्स सिग्मा है, जितने भी ये स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं, वो कीप ऑन चेंजिंग सिचुएशंस के हिसाब से. तो जो STEM की अपनी जो मैकेनिज्म है, इसका ऑडिट का क्या है कि STEM इज नॉट शुड नॉट बी अ स्टैटिक मैकेनिज्म. सो I need your insight on these two things.
जी बिल्कुल. Okay, जैसे फर्स्ट आपने कहा ना कि जो कुछ भी और टीम बनेगी उसमें डिपार्टमेंटल मैनेजर्स भी होंगे, HR भी होंगे, और उसमें subject matter experts भी होंगे. Now it all depends upon if you have expertise available. For example, if in your case, for example, in university, आपका there's a person or the faculty member who is expert in, for example, teaching skills, right? So he or she can be employed as internal instructor. If one of your instructor or teacher is weak, for example, in different teaching methodologies, so you can hire, you can use this SME within the organization to conduct mentoring sessions or to conduct a workshop for those weak in those areas. For example, there's one who is good in communication skills. Right? So internal capacity को आप tap कर सकते हो. In case after tapping internal capability, you find there's some shortage, you can hire a trainer, but now you don't have to leave all this to the trainer. You have to ask for specific knowledge and skills component, right, from this trainer to provide you. If you don't have the system available, say we want to train people, for example, in a skill or in a competency, this trainer would come in with a generic off-the-shelf course for you. But agar aap usko, this STEMS will help you to lead the trainer. The trainer is not leading you, leading a trainer. To ask him or her कि हमें इस knowledge or skills की training चाहिए, right? And we would conduct the analysis of the learning analysis soon after the workshop or soon after the training session. This will ensure that the trainer who comes even from outside is aligned to your job's content and context. This is one thing. Second thing is, while standards keep on changing, because those standards are worldwide, right? Like ISO, let's say 2009, for example, 9001 hai. Those standards are worldwide. एक documentation की requirement है ISO 9001 for example, आपके जो customer survey का है, this is required across all organizations, but STEMS is your organization specific, right? It will grow with your organization. If it will change, will modify with your, the structure would remain same. वो remain same रहेगा आपका. Within this, your content will change. For example, if tomorrow your university strategy changes, your new system, your new objectives come in, आपके competencies change हो जाएंगी. आपके जब कॉम्पिटेंसी चेंज होगी, आपके जो ना कॉम्पिटेंसी की गैप्स आपके डिफरेंट हो जाएंगे. जब आपके गैप्स डिफरेंट हो जाएंगे, आपके कॉम्पिटेंसी के रिक्वायरमेंट, उसकी जो लर्निंग के रिक्वायरमेंट डिफरेंट हो जाएंगे. आपके दिस थिंग विल फ्लो विद द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. और कीप वन थिंग इन माइंड कि स्टेम्स इन वन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम स्टेम्स इन अदर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. फॉर एग्जांपल इन केस ऑफ बैरिया, आपकी जो लर्निंग, आपकी जो परफॉर्मेंस कंडीशंस और स्टैंडर्ड्स आर डिफरेंट फ्रॉम अल्लामा इकबाल ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी, राइट? दैट्स एन ऑनलाइन यूनिवर्सिटी, वो वर्चुअल यूनिवर्सिटी है. आपकी कंडीशंस और जो स्टैंडर्ड डिफरेंट है फॉर टीचिंग इन अ क्लास compared to Allama Iqbal Open University, जिसके कंडीशन और स्टैंडर्ड्स डिफरेंट है. तो दोनों के यहाँ स्टेम्स का फ्रेमवर्क तो अवेलेबल है, बट आपकी जो कैपेबिलिटीज, कॉम्पिटेंसीज, गैप्स, लर्निंग and the learning design and execution is the content of that is different from that the other sector. For example, and your STEMs in a university is different from STEM in Telenor. ठीक है ना? ISO दोनों के सेम होगा, but STEMs is your organization specific. Right? Have I answered your question? जी मैडम खदीजा, आपका आंसर मैं दे सकूं कि नहीं? कुछ और?
जी सर, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर यूजफुल इनसाइट. थैंक यू सर.
थैंक यू.
Sir, Dr. Iftikhar, thank you for such an excellent presentation. I truly appreciate your time, preparation, and willingness to share your expertise with us. Your deep thought on STEMs and clarity made the session enjoyable and easy to follow. Thank you for an outstanding presentation. I, along with my daughter Sfana, are grateful for your valuable insight and the effort you invested in making the session so meaningful. So, inshallah, we'll be learning further from your expertise in future as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the comments. Thank you very much. Any questions, please? Anything you want clarity on? Because I admit the time comes है मेरे पास, मैंने speed up किया as usual, और I'm not sure किस हद तक आपको इसका स्टेम्स का आपको आइडिया हो सकेगा. Yes, please, Madam Nadia, go ahead.
सर, सबसे पहले तो रियली थैंक्स फॉर सच आउटस्टैंडिंग प्रेजेंटेशन. और मैं आपको पहले भी मैंने कहा था कि सर ये इतना अच्छा वास्ट आपका ये फ्रेमवर्क है कि इसको एक कभी भी हम एक 1 आवर सेशन में नहीं ये हो सकता. आई मीन कि आप इसको मुख्तलिफ चंक्स में करें, मुख्तलिफ सेशंस में इसको डिवाइड करें और हमें ज़्यादा क्लैरिटी दें. और सर आपने एक बात की थी कि ट्रेनिंग इज मोस्टली क्या होता है बहुत सारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कि ट्रेनिंग इज ट्रीटेड एज अ सिंगल इवेंट, जबकि आपने बिल्कुल बात ठीक की है कि सीपीडी जो है कॉन्टिन्यूस प्रोफेशनल एंड पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट दैट इज रिक्वायर्ड. आई बिलीव कि अगर आपका जो मैं आई बिलोंग टू एकेडेमिया, सो आई बिलीव कि आपका जो ये पूरा फ्रेमवर्क है स्टेम का, ये एकेडेमिया में जितने लूप होल्स हैं, मसले मसाइल हैं, उसके लिए ये बड़ा बेस्ट होगा। कि ना सिर्फ ये कि प्रोफेशनली ये डेवलपमेंट में हेल्प करेगा, बट बल्कि जो पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट विच आई बिलीव के बहुत ज़रूरत है पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट की एकेडेमिया में, क्योंकि हम एज अ यूनिवर्सिटी टीचर्स, स्कूल टीचर्स, कॉलेज टीचर्स, पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट बहुत ज़रूरी है। प्रोफेशनली तो खैर है ही है, पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है कि जिसकी वजह से व्हाट वी सी कि जो टीचर्स हैं वो उनकी उतनी रिस्पेक्ट नहीं रही, या वो मे बी दे आर नॉट अर्निंग डेट विच दे डिजर्व, और पर्टिकुलरली जो अच्छे टीचर्स हैं दे डिजर्व। लेकिन ये है कि पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट जब तक नहीं होगी तो वो बहुत सारी चीज़ें नहीं सीख सकेंगे। फिर सर एक और मैंने बात करनी थी कि जो आपका जो स्टेम का है, आई बिलीव कि इट इज बेस्ड मोस्टली ऑन प्रैक्टिकल रादर देन ऑन थ्योरी। मोस्टली जो आउटसाइडर जो होते हैं ना, ये जो ट्रेनर्स होते हैं, दे यूजुअली टॉक अबाउट थ्योरेटिकल फ्रेमवर्क्स और उसमें प्रैक्टिकल एलिमेंट्स बहुत कम होते हैं। आई बिलीव के ट्रेनिंग सेशंस में जितना प्रैक्टिकल जो है एस्पेक्ट जो है वो इन्वॉल्व होगा ना, उतना ही जो ट्रेनिंग सेशन है वो अच्छा रहेगा। सो इस पे भी थोड़ा सा बताइएगा कि स्टेम इस सिलसिले में क्या कर रहा है, क्या कर सकता है।
3 पार्ट्स क्वेश्चन के। फर्स्ट पार्ट है कि एकेडेमिया पे इसकी जो एप्लीकेशन, मेरी जो रिसेंट इंटरेक्शंस हो रही हैं एकेडेमिया के साथ, पीपल एडमिट ओपनली कि हमारे यहाँ फैकल्टी की डेवलपमेंट होती है, बट अगेन इट इज आइसोलेटेड, किसी सिस्टम के तहत नहीं होती। हर फैकल्टी अपना अपना डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम को चला रही होती है। ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आई हैव कम अक्रॉस सीरम यूएई, जिन्होंने एडमिट किया कि जी हमारी ट्रेनिंग्स होती हैं, बट अगेन इट्स एस्थेटिक और ये assumptions पे है, सर्विस पे होती हैं, कोई सिस्टम नहीं है हमारे पास। तो इवन इन एकेडेमिया और इंडस्ट्री में भी ये प्रॉब्लम्स हैं। तो मोस्टली ट्रेनिंग्स ना वो एक यू नो unconnected activities होती है, not aligned to your strategic aspiration. This is one thing. So this is stems start from your mission statement and goes down to your classroom delivery. This is one thing. Second thing is आपने बात की पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट की। देखिए हर इंसान के 2 साइड होती है, professional skills and personal skills, and I believe both the skills have got impact on job performance. So if an organization thinks कि सिर्फ प्रोफेशन को डेवलप करके मैं उसकी परफॉर्मेंस बढ़ा सकता हूँ, तो दिस इज अ मिसकंसेप्शन। ठीक है, अनलेस फॉर एग्जांपल मेरी एक पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट है, मेरी ग्रूमिंग चाहिए, मैंने एकेडमिकली मैंने ग्रो करना है अपने आप को, दैट ग्रोथ विल सर्टेनली हैव इम्पैक्ट ऑन माय प्रोफेशनल परफॉर्मेंस इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। आई ट्रूली बिलीव once you do the competency analysis, so you have to add both the aspects into the competency framework, the professional skills and personal skill, and then you have to have a criteria for assessing and judging the personal shortcomings also, right? That's how you can develop an employee in a holistic manner. Jaise maine kaha tha, human beings are by nature development seeking, so you're very right, professional as well as personal development. I fully agree with you. Third thing is your trainers on theoretical and all these things. I agree with you. I've been talking to an organization in Pakistan, और मैं बड़ा हैरान हुआ। I was surprised. कहते हैं कि जी हमें आप हमारे एम्प्लॉयज की कॉम्पिटेंसीज बना के दें और हमें उनका वो गैप डिटरमिन करके दें, हम प्लान बना के दें। मैं कहता तुम लोग क्या करोगे? I being an outsider, how can I make competencies for your people, and how can I determine gap for your people, and how can I make a plan for your organization? मैं थोड़ी कर सकता हूँ, ये आपने करना है, मैं आपको सिखा सकता हूँ कैसे करना है। ये आपने imagine एक outsider is being requested to determine competencies for an organization employees. How can I do this? ये आपको बताए आपके जॉब का डिस्क्रिप्शन क्या है, आपका जॉब कंटेक्स्ट क्या है, जॉब कंटेंट क्या है, आपका कंडीशंस क्या है, आपकी स्टैंडर्ड्स क्या है, आपके मिशन क्या है, ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है। यस, व्हाट आई कैन डू इज टू गाइड यू हाउ टू डेवलप योर कॉम्पिटेंस, बट नॉट आई कैन नॉट डेवलप फुल कॉम्पिटेंसेस फॉर यू। ये आपने करना, आपको सिखा सकता हूँ। बेस्ड अपॉन दैट, इफ समबडी आस्क्स मी, ये हमारा गैप है, उसको ट्रेनिंग दे दो। इफ आई एम एन आउटसाइडर, मैं ट्रेनिंग नहीं दे सकूंगा, मुझे क्या पता, थ्योरेटिकली मैं साउंड हूं, मैं कर दूंगा, पर प्रैक्टिकली मुझे आपको वो स्किल सिखानी है जो आपके गैप जो एनालिसिस से निकल रही है। जब तक मुझे वो नहीं पता होंगी, मैं स्किल्स को एड्रेस नहीं कर सकूंगा, मैं आपको ट्रेन नहीं कर सकता आपको। तो वर्कशॉप्स मैडम नादिया, एक तो ये कि थ्योरेटिकल। सेकंड थिंग इज अनफॉर्चुनेटली वर्कशॉप पाकिस्तान में ना एक फन गेम्स बन चुकी है। मैं हैरान होता हूँ लिंक्डइन को देख के कि लोगों की जो ट्रेनिंग वर्कशॉप्स है ना, वो एक गेमिफिकेशन पे चली गई है, सॉल अम्यूजमेंट और वो एंटरटेनमेंट सेशंस बन चुके हैं, डांसेस हो रहे हैं, नाच गाने हो रहे हैं, वो पता नहीं अजीब तरह के बांदर खेले जा रहे हैं। व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन द वर्कशॉप? ये लर्निंग हो रही है क्या? आई मीन दिस इज ऑल एम टुवर्ड्स एम्प्लॉइज entertainment and good satisfaction survey, that's all. There are trainers, I mean, I'm so surprised, बड़ी एजेड और बड़े एक्सपर्ट ट्रेनर्स हैं, और उनकी पोस्ट क्या होती है कि जनाब ये मैंने सेशन किया और एम्प्लॉय से कंधों पे हाथ रखे हुए हैं, गेम्स हो रही हैं, डांसेस हो रहे हैं और ट्रिक्स हो रही हैं, वो मार्शमेलो के वो कैसेस बन रहे हैं, कश्तियां बन, जहाज बन रहे हैं. व्हाट इज हैपनिंग हियर? दिस इज लर्निंग गोइंग ऑन. वो स्किल्स का है जिसका बंदों को ट्रेन करो. कितना पैसा आप गुजारे का जाया करते हो वो कोई कागज की कश्तियां बनाने के लिए, या फिर ट्रेनिंग होती है क्या? आई थिंक दोस ट्रेनर्स शुड बी टेकन केयर ऑफ. And now it is high time that organization should take care of their own learning and development and ask the trainer, please अगर आप ये skills दे सकते हैं तो आ जाइए, वरना दूर रहिए हमसे. बोलो. Thank you जी, मैडम. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
जी.
अस्सलामुअलैकुम।
जी इस्लाम भाई.
सर मैं कुछ फीडबैक दे सकती हूँ।
जी मैडम प्लीज गो.
बहुत अच्छा रहा, मैं बड़े गौर से सुनती भी रही। आजकल तो मेरी कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन नहीं है, बट आई आल्सो हैड अबाउट 100 एम्प्लॉइज जब मैं स्कूल रन कर रही थी। तो आपका ये बड़ा अच्छा फ्रेमवर्क मुझे लगा कि वाकई जो आप बात कर रहे हैं कि आपके फ्रेमवर्क में कंटेंट नहीं है, और आप एक स्ट्रेटेजिकली एक आप दे रहे हैं कि भाई आप इस तरह मूव करें। तो इस लिहाज से ये जो आप कह रहे हैं ना कि फिर गैप एनालिसिस है या ट्रेनिंग की क्या रिक्वायरमेंट है, तो ये खुद इदारा डिटरमिन करे अपने लोगों के लिए, और उसमें फिर चूंकि ये कंटेंट फ्री होगा तो नेचुरली इट वुड बी एज यू सेड के टेलर्ड फॉर द पर्टिकुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एंड वुड नॉट मे बी केटर टू द अदर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। और ये बात बिल्कुल सही है। और ये जो आपने कहा कि ये गेमिफिकेशन हो गई है, तो आई यूज टू डू अ लॉट ऑफ ट्रेनिंग, लेकिन मैंने यही देखा कि ये इस कदर कैपिटलिस्ट सिस्टम ने गेमिफिकेशन और लाखों रुपए ले रहे हैं उसके, और इन द एंड जो है पर्सनल ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट हो नहीं रही है, क्योंकि तरबियत नहीं हो रही है ना। सो वी जस्ट टेक ट्रेनिंग एज मैकेनिकल ट्रेनिंग। तो उसमें व्हाट आई आल्सो फाउंड कि आपने जो बड़ा अच्छा बताया कि इसमें ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो कुछ वो अपना चाहती है वो उसमें डाल के, अगर आप बाहर से भी ट्रेनर ले रहे हैं तो आप ट्रेनर को गाइड कर रहे हैं, ना कि वो एक्सपर्ट बन के आपको बता रहा है कि ये करना चाहिए। और नॉर्मली ऐसा होता है कि वी बिकम वेरी इम्प्रेस्ड। तो वंस लाइक आई वाज इन वन ऑफ द ट्रेनिंग्स, तो मैंने ये देखा कि पेरेंटिंग पे एक 27 साल का अनमैरिड जो है वो पेरेंटिंग पे ट्रेनिंग दे रहा है। तो आई वाज शॉक्ड। तो अब ये हो गया है कि वो जो है ना कि ट्रेनिंग फॉर डमीज एंड दिस फॉर डमीज, तो वो सारी कट एंड पेस्ट करके सारे लोग ट्रेनर्स बन गए हैं। But what you offered is, alhamdulillah, I found it very, very relevant because I could see that how gap analysis can be done and how you should know as a head of the institution what are the requirements of your employees. And as human beings, everybody has a niche of his own which we are unable to tap if we try to make them one size fit all. Jazakallah khair.
देखिए मैडम नाजिब को क्वेश्चन बिफोर मैडम नाजिब, मैंने एक चीज बतानी है आपको. मैडम लिंक्डइन पे ना आई एम सरप्राइज के कंसल्टेंट्स बैठे हुए हैं, हार्डली 25 इयर्स ओल्ड to less than 30, और उनका वर्किंग किसी एक्सपीरियंस खुद भी इनका नहीं है, और वो कंसल्टेंसी की कंपनी खोल के बैठे हैं, कंसल्टेंट्स नाउ. एंड सरप्राइजिंग थिंग, दे आर बीइंग हायर्ड बाय द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन to develop the skills of the workforce. मैं हैरान हूं कि what has happened to the organization. Are they going only for the charisma? और सर नाम पे जाते हैं कि वो जो चीज उनको चाहिए उसको क्यों नहीं मांगते हमसे? यस मैडम, बात प्लीज गो अहेड.
मैं बिल्कुल डॉक्टर आमना और आपके साथ ही मैं ये आगे थोड़ा इसी को एक्सटेंड करना चाहूंगी. बिल्कुल पहले कहते थे ना कि जो कुछ नहीं बनता वो टीचर बन जाते हैं. सॉरी अब मुझे लगता है जो कुछ नहीं बनता वो या तो वो कंसल्टेंट बन रहे हैं, या वो ट्रेनर बन रहे हैं, या वो मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर बन रहे हैं. और कंपनीज क्या करती हैं, शायद उन्होंने अपना वो एक अच्छा सा लिंक्डइन पेज और फेसबुक पेज बनाना होता है, उन लोगों को बताना होता है कि हम बड़ा अच्छा थ्राइव कर रहे हैं, तो वो एक अच्छे सा वेन्यू बुक करते हैं, उसमें 8, 10, 15, 20, 40 लोग इकट्ठे कर लेते हैं. फोटो सेशंस होते हैं, वो फोटो सेशन वो 40 के 40 लोग जो वहाँ मौजूद होते हैं वो पोस्ट करते हैं, और वो एक बहुत बड़ा बिग इवेंट बन जाता है. और जिसमें सिर्फ वो आपकी, जैसे आप जो बात कर रहे हैं कि एक सर्कस लगा हुआ है और हर कोई वहां पे परफॉर्म कर रहा है, कोई किसी का कोई रोल होता है, किसी का कोई रोल होता है. सो लर्निंग कहीं नहीं हो रही, सब थ्योरेटिकल चीजें हैं, सब बातें हैं, प्रैक्टिकली कुछ भी ऐसा नहीं हो रहा जिससे कुछ सीखा जा सके. सो वी डायरली नीड, देयर इज अ ह्यूज गैप इन द मार्केट कि प्रैक्टिकली हमें बताया जाए हाउ टू बी प्रोफेशनली साउंड, हाउ टू बी पर्सनली साउंड, कि हमने किस तरह काम करना है। हमें तो वर्क एथिक्स का ही नहीं बताया जाता, बहुत सारे लोगों को वर्क एथिक्स का ही नहीं पता कि काम कैसे करना है। और जो बेचारा जो वर्क एथिक्स जो फॉलो कर रहा होता है वो उसकी वही मिसाल होती है, उसको छुट्टी ना मिली जिसने क्या था,
काम किया
जिसने एग्जैक्टली जिसने काम
जिसने
एग्जैक्टली
सबक याद किया।
सबक याद
जिसने
किया जी,
सबक
बिल्कुल
याद
बिल्कुल
एग्जैक्ट। हाँ, तो ये
बिल्कुल।
हो रहा है। सो एक्चुअली वी नीड सम सीरियस एफर्ट्स, और कि कुछ
जी,
सीरियस
बिल्कुल
लोग
बिल्कुल।
सामने आए और इस गैप को फिल अप करें।
अच्छा, मेरे अपना इंटरेक्शन है वो एक इदारे के साथ इन पाकिस्तान। दे आस्क फॉर कॉम्पिटेंसी मैपिंग, कैप्स एंड ट्रेनिंग प्लान। तो मैंने कहा जी कि ट्रेनिंग प्लान कैसे बनेगा आपका, उसमें नॉलेज स्किल्स क्या डिलीवर होंगे, आपका लर्निंग एनालिसिस किधर है, आपका व्हाट इज योर लर्निंग डिजाइन एंड प्लानिंग पॉलिसी। नहीं, हमें वो नहीं चाहिए, बट हमें जस्ट मैप मैप करके दे दें, हमें ट्रेनिंग प्लान बना के दे दें। मैं कहा मैं प्लान में कैसे बनाऊंगा, मुझे मुझे ये नहीं पता मैंने सिखाना क्या आपको, मैंने नॉलेज स्किल्स क्या, मुझे क्या पता मैंने क्या सिखाना है आपको। और हमें वी डोंट हैव टाइम फॉर दैट। Imagine the answer, we don't have time for that. I was surprised. I said, okay, I cannot work with you because I have time for myself. If you don't have time for yourself, so I cannot work for you. Gee, anybody else? Madam Iram,
Oh,
the
I have a question.
yes, please, better go ahead.
Thank you so much for the session. मैं अभी तो early career में ही हूँ, but I still had a lot to learn as well. मेरे पास एक question था about the STEMS का framework, जिसमें you had mentioned कि when we are making जो learning design वाली जो चीज़ है कि आप plan बनाना होगा, and it's based on job context. तो वो जो data होगी, मतलब जिससे आप वो design बनाएंगे, is it based on employee to employee? For example, if two employees are doing the same job, but both of them have different types of shortcomings, तो उसमें जब प्लान बनाएंगे तो उनकी ट्रेनिंग अगर इंडिविजुअली होगी तो उसकी लाइक एफिशिएंसी क्या होगी, लाइक किस एक्सटेंट तक ये चीज़ रियलिस्टिकली इम्प्लीमेंट हो सकती है, या जो सुपरवाइजर होगा इफ़ दे आर टेकिंग चार्ज ऑफ दिस लर्निंग मॉडल जो है, तो उसमें वो फिर इंडिविजुअली उन लोगों को करेंगे या दे विल मेक अ कलेक्टिव प्लान जिसमें दोनों लोग के लिए अप्लाई हो सकता है, समथिंग लाइक दैट।
ये वैसे बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन है और ये बड़ा कॉम्प्लेक्स क्वेश्चन है। आई डोंट थिंक कि आप अर्ली स्टेज पे आपने क्वेश्चन पूछा, दिस इज अ वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स क्वेश्चन एंड दिस इज द फाइनल आउटकम ऑफ स्टेम। लुक, नाउ देयर आर थ्री लेवल्स ऑफ ट्रेनिंग, द लेवल ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, of the department or the function, or the level of the individual. What we do is we do the gap analysis of the whole organization or a department. Then we find out we go for aggregation of the gaps. Aggregation means we have to find out the common gaps across departments. कुछ ऐसे भी गैप्स होंगे जो कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के गैप होंगे। फॉर एग्जांपल कुछ कंप्लायंस की ट्रेनिंग आपके, फॉर एग्जांपल हेल्थ एंड सेफ्टी के गैप्स हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल आपके रिस्क मैनेजमेंट के गैप्स हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल आपकी जो ना वर्क प्लेस एथिक्स के गैप्स हैं। तो वो गैप्स जो कि कॉमन गैप्स है ना, वी गैदर ऑल द गैप्स थ्रू सर्टेनली थ्रू डेटा शीट्स। हम गैप्स करने के बाद वी फाइंड आउट कि व्हाट आर द गैप्स एट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन लेवल, जो कॉमन गैप्स है, the common competencies, and we go down to the technical competencies to the department level. Within the department, what are the common technical gaps? We find out कि 5 employees हैं, for example, you surveyed 8 employees and 3 or 4 of them have got the common technical competency gaps. Then there could be the individual gaps जो कि बंदे के हैं किसी के पास. Then we make a plan. What we do is we call the competencies at the organization level, at a department level, at individual level. Then we go for prioritization. Which of the gaps have got the highest impact on your workplace performance? We give them the priority. For example, priority 1, what are the gaps at level 2 and level 3? And based upon this, what we do is we go for the for those gaps जो कि urgent हैं. For example, the gaps which affect the performance and which are just across the organization से काफी लोग हैं, हम उसको पहले एज अ वर्कशॉप एज अ ट्रेनिंग कोर्स करा देंगे, उसको प्लान कर देंगे. नेक्स्ट इज दी कोर्सेज ऑन द डिपार्टमेंट लेवल. दिस डिपार्टमेंट नीड्स दिस स्मॉल सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स, दिस डिपार्टमेंट नीड्स दिस स्मॉल वर्कशॉप, राइट, एंड दिस डिपार्टमेंट नीड्स sort of mentoring skills, mentoring को स्केल करना आपने. And then we go to the individual skill. That based upon these aggregation of the gaps, we can make a plan, say for 6 months, for 1 year. You're very right, because gaps different होंगे, but we have to go aggregation और उसको filter करते जब हम towards the end we come around कि ये एक gap अकेले बंदे का gap है, तो we could go for intervention of, for example, a one-to-one mentoring skill, right? We would not go for a workshop or training course. For that employee, we can go for a mentoring skills by senior employee within that organization. That's how we can make it. But certainly we require some system for that. हमें कुछ sheets data data analysis, which is simple through Excel sheet. Okay, this is very, very simple. Once you know the philosophy, you can make a plan for the whole organization. ठीक है बच्चा? Anything else?
Thank you so much. That answers a lot of questions about prioritization and aggregation.
Thank you.
With
Bachcha.
these steps are good to follow. Like it makes it more realistic and possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. See anybody else, or we can call it off because it's already now. Yeah, time has got 6:15 or like 7:15. If no more questions, then we can go for for example, saying goodbye. Right. Okay. And that's all for today. I'm really grateful to all of you. You have time nikala and you just responded to my call, and you're here today on a Friday evening. Or this was a good participation. After questions reflected that you got interest in the system. I'm sure the system is there to help the organization. So my request to you is please spread the word about this system into your organizations and let them come back to us for more details, more interactions, and we were ready to help your organization set up the systems for you and to provide you or to fill the gap of the competency governance framework, which I'm sure will be there in your organization. So once again, thank you very much. All the best wishes. I'll share the recording of the session on the WhatsApp group and on the LinkedIn also. So once again, thank you very much. All the best wishes and Allah Hafiz to all of you.
Thank you, sir. बहुत शुक्रिया.
Allah
Thank you.
Hafiz, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.